Hi, everyone. I'm Heidi Rojek from Capitol Books. We'd like to welcome you to this third session of Bookstore Romance Day. We've probably got most of the kinks worked out from session 1 and session 2, so hopefully this will go a little bit smoother than session 1. One thing I've discovered with Crowdcast is that it only allows us to show 4 screens at a time, and with Ross and I as the interviewers, we have to always be on it. So we're going to have to rotate the authors out as we go through the session, but hopefully that will go off without a hitch. So we'll keep this to about an hour. We'll have a question and answer session in the last 10 or so minutes. So if you have any questions for these authors, please type it in the comments box on your right-hand side. I also created a link to purchase any of their books from Capitol Books. If you just go to the button at the bottom of your screen, you'll see that. So I would like to introduce to you Maria Vale, Susannah Erwin, Priscilla Oliveras, and Melanie Johnson. Now, Priscilla is currently off screen, so you'll see her in a few minutes once we start to rotate out. To my left here is my husband and co-owner of the bookstore, Ross Rojek. He is predominantly going to be asking the questions, so I might jump in every once in a while with a comment or a question. But other than that, I will hand it over to Ross.
Hi, everybody. So I will repeat a little bit of what I've done the last 2 sessions, which is romance books are a hard and interesting category in any bookstore for a variety of reasons. I used to sell comic books, and in the comic book field, it is entirely ghettoized. It is mostly male, and it is mostly people who are into comics. It's very hard to get non-comic book readers to come into a comic book store, even if there are books that they would probably like to read. I still remember people would come in very tentatively, having heard an interview with like Spiegelman on NPR, and they're interested in this thing called Mouse, but they're lost as to where to find it. And romance books are kind of the same thing. They are so many different genres, so many different subcategories within that. And I think that the whole point to Romance Day is both sad in the fact that you have to actually promote an entire category so that people will say, hey, yes, I carry it. And on the other end, at least it's being done in a way that celebrates an entire category of stuff that people like to read, and nobody wants to admit to either selling or reading one way or the other. So what I'd like to start off with is at least have each person introduce themselves, talk about your most current book or two, and the subgenre of romance that you like to do, because that usually ends up leading into more interesting questions later. And we'll go from there.
So let's start with Susannah.
Hi, I'm Susannah Erwin, and I write sexy, fun, escapist romance. I write what's called category romance, which is maybe the romance that when people hear about romance, they think of, when they first hear about romance, they think of Harlequin, and they think of all the Harlequin books and all the, the small, it's a very short book. They used to be sold in grocery stores all the time. You can still find them in Walmart and hopefully in independent bookstore, buying independent bookstores everywhere. And there's different lines, which is why they're called category. I write for desire, so my books do tend to be sexy. They do have, they're not, I wouldn't call them 5 flames, but I would call them maybe 3.5 flames. And the latest book is Cinderella Unmasked, which is it's a enemies to lovers story that starts at a masquerade ball. And I like to say it's where the Cinderella story starts at midnight and then goes from there.
All right, let's go to Melanie.
Hi, I'm Melanie Johnson, and I was just saying I was envious because Susannah was smart enough to have a cover ready to show everybody. I'm a Star Wars fan. If you can't tell, I'm currently in my little Star Wars office, if you're wondering what all the stuff is around me. And I write contemporary romance. And I debuted last year with 3 books in the Sometimes in Love series, Getting Hot with the Scot, Smitten by the Brit, and Once Upon a Bad Boy, so you can kind of see a theme there. My next book is a romantic comedy that is coming out summer 2021, and it is called Too Good to Be Real, and it is a meta rom-com. So it's if you were given the chance to live out your romantic comedy fantasies, this resort allows you that chance to do that. So that's me.
Maria?
Hi, my name is Maria Vale. I am the one person who writes a different genre. I write paranormal. My new book coming out in a week and a half or so is The Season of the Wolf. It's part of a series about that asks the question, supposing werewolves were wolves first and foremost and not men. And what that very simple change makes a huge difference in how they perceive themselves and how they are perceived. I look at paranormal as sort of beside normal, not magic so much as almost normal's wingman, somebody who looks at normal from the passenger seat and can then comment on what is normal. So that's why I write paranormal.
Priscilla is now in the viewing area. So welcome, Priscilla.
Hi. Hola, everyone. I am Priscilla Oliveras. I write contemporary romance with a Latinx flavor. So in all of my romances, at least one, if not both, of the main love interests will be Latinx. And my latest book is this one right here. It is Island Affair, and it's book 1 in my Keys to Love series set in Key West, which was my home, my childhood home growing up. And
Video's not coming through.
is it there now? I can see myself.
You can, huh? Is everybody else there?
I can't see Priscilla.
Wow.
Oh, someone can hear.
Some people do. Jackie here in the chat says she sees me.
Interesting.
All right.
It's just slightly pixelated.
Okay.
Oh.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh no, that's okay. So I'll keep going. So Island Affair is set in Key West, and it is a fake relationship trope. It introduces you to the Navarro familia. That's a Cuban family that's lived in Key West, second generation in Key West, and it is the fake relationship. It's about a social media influencer who arrives in Key West for a week vacation with her family, and she knows that it's going to be a little bit difficult or a little judgmental, and her boyfriend stands her up, and so she doesn't want to arrive at their vacation home having been dumped by her boyfriend. Already her family doesn't think she has her stuff kind of together, so she convinces a local firefighter paramedic, that's Luis, to step in and pretend to be her boyfriend for the week of her vacation. So that is kind of the set for Island Affair.
Okay. The fact that you're doing Latinx stuff actually leads into kind of a question I've had for everybody else before this was because of all of the subgenres within romance and previous sessions we had 2 women that did mostly lesbian books, and the question was, do you rack them mixed in with everybody else? Do you create subcategories? Things like that. In our store, one of the things I've found that has been helpful is we take the big popular general fiction books, Crazy Rich Asians, and you stick them in romance, and the people who are looking for it then go to the romance section, and they're exposed to everything else, as opposed to putting the general fiction, which is, everything else. How large of a subcategory do you think is Latinx? And then later on we'll ask about, paranormal and the like, but do you find would you rather be specialized into that category or mixed in with everybody else?
I don't see Latinx, just like Black or LGBTQ or any of those as a subcategory. I see them like I write contemporary romance, and part of my part of my characters, what a little bit that speaks to them as unique characters is their Latinidad. But I feel like if it's separated, I mean, I've been on a panel and someone has asked me if I'm not Latinx, am I going to be able to kind of relate to your characters? And my immediate answer is I write contemporary romance. And to me, romance is just romance. So if you're Latina or if you're Latinx and you read my book, especially this one, if you're Cuban, maybe if you're from the Caribbean, there's a little bit of similarities. But my hope is when you read my book, that you'll feel like you connected maybe with yourself or someone in your familia. But if you're not Latino, if you're not Latinx, then I hope that you feel like maybe you got a little bit more experience or exposure to my culture, to my heritage, but that's not, it doesn't define my characters. It's part of who we are. But struggle and everything else.
Within that, but it's kind of along the lines that it's sort of how does genre separate stuff out versus just alphabetical by author, and
right.
Rich Asian sells to a wide group of people besides just Asians who are interested in that. That was kind of that for you is, and I assumed that it was a romance with a Latin flavor, and so that was the question there. So
so I think I would, for me, if you like, the definitive answer would be I would hope to find Island Affair or any of my Match to Perfection books and that series in contemporary romance, and the reader would just know that an added element would be that there's going to be a little bit of Latinidad within the pages.
We can go that route with everybody else too.
Okay. Melanie, did you have anything to add to that topic?
Just the fact that as a romance reader, which I am as well as an author, I would like to go, I mean, if you want to talk about as a bookstore owner, how to separate things out by like paranormal romance, contemporary romance, historical romance, that as a reader, I can identify and say, I'm in the mood for a contemporary romance. But when I go to that contemporary romance section, I want every author of every flavor, of every sexual orientation in that section. Those are all contemporary romances. And if they're all together, I'm going to find something I might not have seen if it was shelved somewhere else. And if it was shelved somewhere else, I might never be able to discover these amazing authors that are stuck somewhere that isn't in contemporary romance. So as a bookstore owner, I appreciate you asking the question, and it would be amazing to walk into a bookstore and see all contemporary romances, whether it is gay or bisexual or any other or of any nationality, background, anything, all in the same spot based on the fact that it's romance. That would be fun.
Yeah, I think currently.
I'm gonna step off my soapbox now.
Yeah, I think currently our entire category is the top shelf is all hardcovers. Everything else is alphabetical by author. I keep going back to that section, trying to figure out how to either make it easier or better for people. And so this is kind of an easy way to go.
Yeah, I think it's like you think about as a reader, like when a reader walks into a store, it's like, what am I in the mood for? And they might move toward, as a romance reader, I might move toward a paranormal or a historical, that kind of thing. But beyond that, we just want romance.
Maria, did you have anything to add to that?
No, I think both Priscilla and Melanie were extremely articulate about this. I mean, it's just it really is just love, and nobody wants to see everything divided out. I think, yes, definitely contemporary is a mood I am sometimes in. Paranormal is a mood. I can see maybe breaking out Regency from historicals if that's crucial, but beyond that, no, really not.
Waiting for, let's see, Susannah. There you go. You want to answer that question?
My only point would be that when I think that, romance is romance is romance is romance. I think, I think when you run the risk of separating people out by things that are external to who they are, things like skin color or religion, you run the risk of othering them. You run the risk of saying, this is something exotic and different and strange, and it's not like you. And I think that's the wrong message to be sending to readers when they walk into the store. So, but I appreciate the question.
Been
It's an
our
awesome question.
great.
Yeah, we've every so often I'll have somebody come in and ask for where are the books by Black authors, and I'm like, they're all over the store. They're in every category. Currently, because of the stuff that's been going on the last few months, they're all on, well, not all of them, but we have one big shelf up front that is, here's important things from brown authors. But but it is one of those things. I don't want to have, I don't want to stick it on a shelf where nobody sees it, because it's such a small category as opposed to mixed in. It's just kind of odd thing. So, yeah. All right.
If you don't mind me jumping in, I would like to say that promotion is different from where do you shelve a book. And I think that promoting books by authors of color and making sure that people see them and that they're visible and that they know these books are out there, but you put them with everybody else's, you put them with all the books. I think that's brilliant. I think that's great. So thank you.
Okay. All right. So I kind of want to, I think everybody is contemporary except for Maria. So I guess we can kind of skip out talking about why genres are done.
Yeah.
We don't have. I want to talk to you guys about your experiences publishing, your experiences promoting, your experiences with working with bookstores, particularly independent bookstores. Where have your successes been? Where have your challenges been, both in promoting yourself, obviously online, but also within stores?
Priscilla, you want to start?
Oh, no, I was getting my hair out of my way, but sure. Okay. I think what I enjoy about working with indie bookstores as an author, but even as a reader, is the more personal touch that I have found. Being able, I feel like indie bookstore owners more often are, have good relationships with their regular customers. And so they're more able to, someone comes in and they know what they might want to buy, or what they may regularly read, or, hey, here's an author that might, what we would say is comp authors, right? Or comp titles. And I feel like indie bookstore owners, at least the ones that I've worked with predominantly, have their finger kind of on the pulse of their regular customers. And I enjoy that as a reader, also as a published author. If there's a reader who may not know me, but an indie bookstore owner knows that they, typically read books that could be comps to mine, so that they're more able to recommend mine, and that's how a new reader can meet me. So I enjoy that aspect of it.
Maria?
The whole promotional bit is not particularly my favorite thing, because it distracts from writing. And I can't say as I'm terribly good at it, but the thing that surprised me, since I'm a complete introvert, is that I, in fact, enjoyed, I've done a few bookstore events, and I have enjoyed those, not because so much about talking about my books, which is complicated, but talking about people. And the thing about a bookstore that online cannot replicate is that it's an agora. You have a chance to meet all sorts of people that you would never meet otherwise. And I love that. And I've talked to people about fixing cars, and I've talked to people about all sorts of things. And then at the end, they'll take a bookmark, or they'll give my name to a friend. And I think that's actually surprisingly lovely. I've had a great time at these events in a way that sometimes it's harder to do online. or always it's harder for me to do online.
Yeah. Welcome back, Melanie. It's like changing of the guard. Did you want to answer that question?
Sure. So I'm still a fairly new author. As I said, I debuted last year, and I was lucky enough that right when I was debuting, a local bookstore to the Chicagoland area, Love Sweet Arrow, which is romance, like it's the second romance-focused indie bookstore in the country, was also opening. So I was able to work hand in hand with the owners, the mother-daughter team, and they are wonderful. And we kind of worked together, and I kind of helped them figure out some events for their opening. And it was just a really, kind of organic, symbiotic relationship that developed that I've loved. And it was kind of nice that I could bring in my networking experience from who I knew in the industry to kind of come in and also work with them. And that was Danielle Dresser from Fresh Fiction has started working there. And it's just been, it's community. So like romance, I think in itself is a community. And then as you make those connections with indie bookstores, you build that community. And romance readers are a very passionate and loving group of people. They just love to get together and talk about the books that they enjoy, and they feed off of that excitement. So having those kind of events is it's a wonderful experience to like kind of suck all that energy in. So and then people will be like, oh, have you read this one yet? No. Well, you've got to buy. I mean, you're gonna have every person sitting in that audience hand selling other books to everyone else in that audience. Mm-hmm. So that's, I think, as a bookstore owner, a great opportunity for you as well.
Yeah. One of the questions that I wanted to ask each of you that we had talked about in one of the other sessions was, how have all of you found doing virtual events in these COVID times different? That's obviously different, but has it been a positive experience or a negative experience? The reason I'm asking is that, our bookstore's only been around for a little over a year, and we were just finding our stride with holding in-store events and getting a very small following, but people were starting to recognize that we were holding author events and coming. And then COVID hit, and we belong to an indie bookseller group on Facebook, and a lot of those stores around the country were saying, well, we've tried virtual events, and they're a lot of work, which I can attest to. They are a lot of work. And there was no real return on their time investment with book sales. Then we held our very first virtual event with a local Sacramento author, and her attendance blew me out of the water. We had way more attending virtually than we ever would have gotten in the store, and from way outside the area. We had people tuning in from outside of the United States even, and ended up selling close to 200 of her books.
That's awesome.
And so my question for you guys is, how are you finding these new virtual events? Melanie?
So I think you make a great point. And as first, this is a business. Like you said, there's a lot of time and effort on the indie bookstores, that they have to prepare going into this, not knowing what the return on investment is going to be. But it's great that you had that positive experience, and hopefully that leads you to try more of these. I think it's an interesting opportunity. And I think sometimes when you're thrown into a situation, you make the best of it and then discover things good and bad. So I think with virtual events, what's been amazing is the outreach. Like right now, I'm in Chicago, Susannah's in California, Maria is in New York, and Chris is, I think, down in Florida. And we can all be here talking to people who are all over the place as well and connecting with them. And that's amazing. And then hopefully, of course, the question is, how does that transfer into book sales for you, which I know is important. And I think it comes down to sometimes incentives. So like how movie theater started making a comeback when everyone could just sit home and watch Netflix was they had, the lounging the lounging chairs, and you could reserve your seat in advance, and you could like order from the bar. So how they create more of an experience. And I think that's indie bookstores their place, their niche. Like, we're going to make this an experience for you. You come in, you get customized, you know, recommendations for what you'd like to read. You can connect with authors and other readers. You know, when my next book comes out, I want to create specialized packages, pre-order packages for indie bookstores only, that readers can only get these special things by going to an indie bookstore. And I've seen a lot of other authors do the same thing.
Right.
So that's just about indie bookstores in general. But like with virtual events, I'd have to say it's been great to be able to do, like, this one's in, you know, California. Yesterday I was doing one for a bookstore in Colorado. Friday I was doing the one for a bookstore in Chicago. To do all that without having to pack a bag to get on a plane or put on pants,
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing.
I have the feeling that when we get to start doing in-store events again, we will probably just crowdcast them again.
Yeah,
Just
I think, yeah.
That would be awesome.
There
Yeah.
for anybody else, because I think before this nobody did, because it's either you show up or you don't. But, you know, people have fans elsewhere. You know, the fact that they're in Sacramento or Colorado or wherever else doesn't mean that other people won't want to show up for that debut signing or something else. And I have the feeling this is partially the new normal.
Yeah.
You know.
Susannah, did you have something to add to that?
No, well, first of all, I want to apologize for, I don't know if anyone noticed, but I disappeared. We're having brownouts. So if I disappear again, I apologize. PG&E, I think, is experiencing overload.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier about how hot it is in California today. So I was gonna say, like, so since I write category, which are the little books that they're fabulous big stories, just small package books that Harlequin puts out when they come out monthly. It's not something I don't think independent stores have a lot of shelf space for, but it's been really a thrill doing these events with independent stores and getting the word out about category. And then where I think I can come in is that instead of offering gift certificates to Amazon, I've been giving away gift certificates to independent bookstores to try to get people to to know that these bookstores are out there and that they don't have to, like, you know, do the easy thing and one click, that they should be supporting independent bookstores, because I think the biggest thing all of us face as authors and even as readers is discoverability, right? Like, how do we find new authors? How do we find new things to read? How do we get connected with other people who also like to read what we read? And that's why I think bookstores serve an enormous value that you just can't get anywhere else. So I'm thrilled to do whatever I can to support them and to be part of these events have been awesome for me as a new author. So I'm just thrilled. And I'm also happy to come over to Sacramento. So just let me know. I'll come over.
When it's safe, we will be doing events again. But,
Yeah.
you know, it's just weird right now. Yeah. If I had known, I would have spent a whole lot more time last year thinking about, do I actually want to open up a store that's only be open a year when there's going to be a giant pandemic and shut us all down. On the other side of that, I think that I would have worried too much because we did okay.
Yeah.
But, you know, it involved a lot of reworking of what we do and relearning old skills. I mean, I used to run warehouses, so, you know, I get the flow, but, you know, Heidi started crying at one point when she came in the store during COVID because there's tables, boxes, and piles all the way through the store because nobody's coming in. And I don't care. You know, I just needed it efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Maria, how have you found virtual events in the past few months?
I found them, they're actually rather, other people have said, you know, you can be anywhere at any time pretty much. And I've actually had virtual events with people who have been in Australia, Paris, New York, and one other place on the East Coast. But, you know, it's like multiple time zones. The most complicated thing was trying to figure out one time in which we could all meet up without having to get up in the middle of the night.
Right.
And it's really a way of opening yourself up to a whole new audience. I agree with you completely. This idea of having both is brilliant. You know, you can have the personal connection with the readers who are right there, but then you can also have this additional layer of connection to other people, which will just, you know, once the kinks are all worked out for you guys, I know it's a lot of additional work, but it may be, hopefully it's a new
It's
thing.
something that will continue. It's just, it's like Ross was saying, that it would be in conjunction with the live event that's going on.
Right.
Sure. And then I mean, I don't know enough about Crowdcast and Zoom to know if you can, hook up an external video camera so that you have better quality and of the authors. And that. But I imagine that that's an opportunity for Zoom and Crowdcast and whoever else joins the party to figure that out once it's over, because this is kind of an untapped opportunity for those tech companies who have only been using it for working at home and who want to join a meeting. But anyway, Priscilla, how have you found the virtual events? Have you done very many?
I have, since my book came out. It was a May release, but it actually released like the last Tuesday in April, and I was only going to be home one weekend in May because I had events scheduled, and I was actually going to do a signing at Books and Books, one at Books and Books in Coral Gables, but also go down to Key West where the book is set and go like Facebook Live from some of the places that they go to. So I was disappointed. I've been really thankful then to have all the virtual events, even though I'm not very tech savvy. So there's been a learning curve. I had to learn how to use Zoom because I teach at the college. And so we went to online. So I learned for work, for the day job, and for writing. But for me, I think one of the best parts of author life is getting to meet fellow authors, but also to touch base with readers, whether it's like to talk about my book or to talk about someone else's book, just that camaraderie. And so I've been super thankful for the technology allowing us to have events like this. So I've done either author panels, I've done presentations. I was supposed to be speaking at a couple RWA chapters and like at a couple libraries, and all of those just transitioned to virtual, which I was thankful for, rather than canceling them. Even one of the Chicago chapters, Chicago North, had their conference that was supposed to be in May. They just had it at the end of July, so that was even fun. You got to have meetups. They did their Friday night dance party. Everybody was in their living room dancing with the DJ playing. At least I was. So I enjoyed them.
So I think it was fairly after COVID hit, but there were some actors, screen actors and Broadway actors who started doing the James and the Giant Peach.
I saw something different, but yes.
Yeah, so
idea.
I mean, they were rotating different actors into play to read the characters out of the book, but that was where I got the idea that this could be something in the future, even post-COVID.
Right.
But, the way that a lot of them set the scene with, a lot like what you're doing, Maria, that you've got a lovely background and they did that with the actors that they. Oh, sorry.
I certainly don't have.
Oh, me? Oh, this.
My mouth was hovering over Maria, so it said Maria, so I read it.
Oh, that's okay.
Anyway, but
I'm a big proponent. I think it'd be great to go like hybrid when it's safe again to have larger in-person gatherings. That'll be great, because that face-to-face is also important. It's really enjoyable, but there are, just like I think Marielle said it here in the chat, like for those who have accessibility issues, or the weather's bad, whatever. In another situation, being able to watch online at the same time that maybe those that are local can come, I think it will help. Both the readers, the authors, and the bookstores as well. I'm hopeful that this weekend has introduced new readers to you.
One of the things that we are doing during COVID, which a lot of people would think we're crazy to do it, but as I don't know if Ross mentioned to this group that we actually have 3 floors to our bookstore, and we're currently only on 1 floor. And we're paying for all 3 floors, but only 1 floor has been renovated. So we decided during COVID to put out the money to have the 2nd floor renovated. And that's going to be for larger author events when we can have them.
Oh, nice.
And, you know, we're in this weird industry that our store personally was able to grow from COVID and to thrive from it. I know that a lot of indie bookstores weren't in the position, they weren't positioned enough to, you know, have an online store, either their books or all books in print. And we already had that in place prior to COVID, so we were able to just hit the ground running. And we were very fortunate. And there's this little store that's down the street from us. It's not a bookstore. It's a spice store. But she got interviewed the other day from New York Times, and she said the words out loud that Ross and I only say to each other. He's in print and we're not in print, but
you're telling all these people.
I know, but survivor's guilt. Because her store is doing very well because people are cooking a lot and spices, and they want to support local. And her store is doing well. Well, we're kind of in that same category. Bored people want to read, and they wanted to play games, and they wanted to do puzzles. So that was us. And then on top of that, we were, offering curbside pickup where they could literally just pull up outside the store and we will run your bag out. We started doing local delivery. And so it's kind of weird watching, we're in downtown Sacramento, so we're literally watching the businesses on our block close up after, all these weeks of COVID it's mostly restaurants, and they just can't survive. And here we are like, we're doing okay.
That's great. That's great for you guys.
Yeah. But that's a lead into what are some things that indie bookstores can do to help writers like you, whether you're traditionally published or self-publishing. What can we do to help you guys?
Wow. I mean, first off, I think events like this, being proponents within the romance genre, there are some stores that have shied away from romance. So I love like this whole weekend and seeing, I just love the whole idea of pairing and trying to get our 2 worlds, like the romance genre authors and publishers working together with indie bookstores to help benefit each other. So I think, events like this are helpful. I'm not a marketer, so I'm like, oh my gosh, what should I be saying here? But I think really, I go back to what I said earlier, and what I love about working with indie bookstores is helping romance authors make those connections with their readers, because you know your loyal customers and what they like, and so helping us to make those connections as well is super helpful. But I think it's really important for authors in the indie bookstores to be supporting each other. So when we have an event, like on our social media and in our newsletters, or however we're reaching out to our readers, that we make sure that we're including links and talking about buy-in as well.
Yeah. That Maria has something. That's another thing that we notice when we're setting up, like how I did with you guys, that we create an events page. So obviously with your group, there was 13 authors to set up, but mostly I have to just do 1 author at a time. But a lot of times I go to their website to see, to get their book image and all that stuff. But I see that they're promoting their book only through Amazon. And like, and so I reach out to them. I say, look, Amazon is one outlet for you.
Right.
You need to also support us if we're going to hold an event for you. that we need to be listed on your website as a local bookstore or bookshop.org, something that it's kind of an uphill battle to get people out of the buy books from Amazon or buy anything from Amazon. Sacramento is lucky to have a very strong shop local mentality, but I know that that's not the case everywhere. And it's sometimes difficult to get people to get out of that shopping on Amazon mentality.
I mean, I think that there are a few things that can happen. I know that being in New York, there are a couple of really excellent stores who have romance representation, but I understand that it's complicated too, because romance is often mass market, and mass market, a percentage of a $6.99 book is much smaller than a percentage of a $17.99 book. So I do understand that there are problems there. There are just practical problems. But I would love to see Bookstore Romance Day or something be a clearinghouse where romance authors, say local romance authors, could spread the love of the genre. It's a huge, complicated genre. I think for a lot of bookstores, it's just kind of overwhelming. But if you could pair with any romance writer, we love these things. We love these books. We would come up with title suggestions and shelf talkers, and we would do, not just for our own books, but for the genre generally. I don't think there's a single writer out there who would not do this.
I think readers are, the romance category, I think, is the single largest category of book sales. Just
yes,
overall, yeah.
And I think because the price points are almost all lower from the mass markets at $10 or $8.99 or whatever they are, even $18.
Yeah,
you can buy more of those than you can a $30 new hardcover.
Right.
I think on a volume basis, romance readers are probably an engine. But on the other end of it, I remember reading something early on when the Kindle first came out, that the driving force behind Kindle sales was romance readers who wanted to be able to read in public but not have people see what they were reading. I think at that point drove a lot of readers out of stores and onto Amazon because it was the fastest and easiest way to go. And then you have to deal with the online prices versus store prices and all this. It's a whole more complicated issue of things. So anyway.
I just wanted to remind the viewers that if you have questions for any of the authors to type them into the chat box, because we're coming up on that time that I need to start tossing the questions out to them. So no questions yet. Lots of lovely comments though. Yeah. So, the books, the romance section in our store is a fairly large bookcase, an entire bookcase, not just a shelf or so. And we do have people come in to buy the romance books. So it's a genre that is wanted in Sacramento, so it's very welcome there. And for a while there, we had a staff member who she loved the romance genre, so she kind of helped build that up with Ross, and she did a lot of hand selling with it.
I think that's important.
Yeah.
So when you have somebody there, then it's you can move them into things they haven't seen.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So Sharon is asking, what are you reading, and do you have any recommendations? So let's start with Maria. Since you're up here.
I've been reading a lot of fantasy romance because it's just, the farther away I can get, the happier I am. Sci-fi too. So, I really loved Strange Love by Anagire. That was wonderful. It's about a kind of lizard man and a woman who goes to a recreation event and thinks gets kidnapped, but it's hard to explain, but it's brilliant. And then Jeffy Kennedy's The Orchid Throne and The Fiery Crown were both great. I've been reading a lot of Grace Draven. I've reread Kingmaker by Amanda Boucher. So again, it's about stepping away a little bit from reality.
Susannah?
So I'm on deadline right now, so I haven't been reading as much as I really want to, but I can tell you what's on my to be read pile. So and I'm sure this is a very popular choice among a lot of people, but I have You Got Me at Ola by You Had Me at Ola by Alexis Daria, which has been getting amazing reviews, and I just cannot wait to dive in because I know it's going to be awesome. Yeah, there you go. You had the most gorgeous cover ever. It is so amazing. Sorry if I stole anyone's thunder with that. I was like, oh, please ask me first so I can say that really quickly. I also know a little bit about Melanie's upcoming book, which is out on You can go like it on Goodreads and add it to your to be read pile on Goodreads right now. But I know a little bit about Melanie's upcoming book, and I can't wait until that one comes out. And then if anyone's looking to pick up category, I'm sorry, I keep picking up my book because that's the only one I have near me. Reese Ryan has the Bourbon Brothers series, which is amazing and is awesome. And so I recommend that as a good jumping in point for anyone who wants to try their hand at category, unless, you want to try mine, but go for Reese Ryan. She's awesome.
How about you, Melanie?
So I always have more than one book going. I always have a physical book I'm reading and then an audio book, because especially with the pandemic, I've been walking a lot more and listening to audiobooks while I walk. So the book I'm currently reading, my nightstand book, is The Boyfriend Project by Farah Rashan. And I love strong female friendships, and that one starts out with a group of girls who have an unconventional meeting when they find out they're all dating the same jerk who's playing them all, and then they form a friendship and they agree that they are not going to date for X number of months, and of course you know what happens next. And then the book that I'm currently listening to on audio is Don't You Forget About Me by, and I'm sure I'm going to wreck her name, it's Marie McFarlane. And I'll add it in the comments, but it's I think she's a UK author, so the spelling is a little bit funky, but the audiobook is amazing. The narrator really does a great job with the British and the Irish accents of the characters, and it's a very interesting book because it's in the first person POV, and it's very much inside the heroine's head and like how her thoughts unravel, to the point that I would feel like it was overkill, but the character is so well written that I'm just fully invested, and it's just a lot of fun.
Very good. Wow. How about you, Priscilla?
Well, I'm going to flash Alexis's one more time because I was going to mention that one, and the cover is just so beautiful. So this one is out now, and actually it was the Target has like a diversity book of the month for and Alexis's was chosen, so you can find it at Target. But also another one I write a lot about, like familias and comunidades, like communities, and Juana's Real Men Knit. I read it here. It's about 4 foster brothers who their foster mom has passed away, and she owned a knitting shop, and so they're kind of deciding right from the very beginning: do we sell it? Do we keep it? One of them, Jesse, really wants to keep it, and Kwanda just does an amazing job creating like a community just around the 4 brothers, these 4 foster brothers. And then also it's set in Harlem. So like the community of Harlem and everybody who was involved or whose lives is touched, if their life is touched by the knitting shop, whether it's little kids to older ladies. And so I really love just the community that she created in Real Men Knit. And then, like Melanie, sometimes I have a book here and I'm reading one on print, and then I'm listening to one like while I'm running. And a really good book that I listened to this summer was Emily Henry's Beach Read, which actually takes place. It's Lake Michigan, so it's not the beach, but that book, that I don't know the narrator, but the narrator does an incredible job. her book, there's like a lot of lighthearted, spunky banter between the two characters. It's a really long, slow burn for like the romance. And at the same time, both of the characters are dealing with some really emotional issues, like from their backstory. So I just thought she did a great job of weaving in, like, it's a funny, sexy rom-com, but also dealing with some important issues. And I thought she did a great job. Oh, Melanie saying you can't listen while running?
No, I need music.
Oh, no, it makes me want to keep running. So that's good.
Oh.
I think beach reading is our sort of book club book next month.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Good. I think they'll love it. But I think any of these, and they're all different. Like Beach Read and Alexis's You Had Me at Hola, and Farah's Quana's Real Men Knit, or Farah's The Boyfriend Project. I've read all of those, and I want to go to happy hour with Samaya and her girlfriends from Farah's The Boyfriend Project. I want to go have margaritas with those girls, and I want to date one of the Strong brothers from Quana's books, and I want to be in the telenovela that Alexis's characters are in. I do not want to get in the cold water of Lake Michigan, though. I will hang out on the beach with January and Gus in Beach Read, but I'm not going to get in that water.
Definitely.
For sure.
I was just going to say I have one more, and that's J.C. Lee's A Sweet Mess. So just throwing that out.
And that one was just optioned for
Yes,
a
by
movie.
Daniel. Yeah,
I'm going to mess up the actor's name, but I was like, oh my gosh, how exciting. Yes. Mariel says I could be in the dance scenes. I totally want to be in a dance scene of Carmen in Charge, Mariel. Yes. I could be an extra in Carmen in Charge. There it is. Yeah. Daniel Day Kim's. Yeah. So real huge congrats to JC.
Yeah. And it's a great book. It's totally sweet and adorable and fun, and kind of just takes you away.
Nice.
Well, I don't see that anybody else has asked questions. Everybody out there is kind of quiet. It's Sunday. It's hot.
Let's see. I'm surprised my sister hasn't thrown some question out at us. She was on here earlier.
Yeah. No, I haven't seen anything
You just
else.
put the pressure on.
Yes. Actually, I lived in Sacramento years and years ago. My middle daughter was born. We were stationed at Mather Air Force Base. I don't even know if it's there anymore. So my middle daughter is a Californian.
Oh, there's questions in the question box. There's a question box.
Oh yeah, ask a question.
All right. Let's see. Jackie says, I would like to know from the authors what has been their favorite character of all their books.
Oh, that's a great question.
Let's start with
my
you.
sister.
Start with me?
Yeah.
Well, I've only written 2, so it's not that hard of a question for me. I have to say, so in my most recent book, I have a soft spot for the leading female character. Her name's Nell, but it's her real name is Janelle, but she named herself Nell because she's trying very hard to start over. And she's trying very hard to kind of do the opposite the things that she would have normally done. So, which is why she finds herself kissing a stranger at midnight at a masquerade ball, because that's not something she would have done in her previous life. So I love the idea of trying to start over and trying to force yourself to be braver and stronger than you used to be. And is that a good thing or a bad thing? And what does that lead you into? And who are you actually deep down? And can you embrace your weaknesses as well as your strengths? So yeah, I'm picking Nell.
How about you, Melanie?
Oh goodness, it's a great question, but it's also a hard question because your characters are all, oh my goodness. So the book, I just finished writing Too Good to Be Real, which is the book that's coming out in July. And I have to say that I've never done this, but the hero in that book, Luke, like I guess because of the pandemic and we were together 24/7, but I stole so many things from my husband to put in the character of the hero of this book. Like there's like so many little ticks and things that my husband does that this character has taken on. And so he's my favorite just because it was, I don't know if it was cathartic or therapeutic that I kind of worked his little quirks into this character. But yeah, so that's my favorite. And yes, Rhonda, he knows. I told him, like, he'll say things and I'm like, oh, that's going in my book. But I never let him read my books until he can buy them.
I have a bunch that again, I think it's very hard to sort of say which one of your children is your favorite. But I really love the heroine of my current book of Season of the Wolf, who's Evie, the alpha. She's been through a lot, and she has been sort of sacrificed everything trying to keep her pack together during a very difficult time. And it's only now that she is trying to remember what it's like to not simply be a leader, but to actually be an individual as well. So I loved her throughout, and I'm very glad that she had a chance to have her own story.
Mm-hmm. Priscilla?
I mean, same with Maria. It's kind of hard with any of my heroines in any of my books. I've always said I can't pick one, because they either, like the Fernandez sisters, feel like they're my little sisters. The other ones, a lot of them like they're my best friend, and so I would kind of feel like I would be cheating on one of my friends. So I always go towards the heroes, and I will say I've loved all my heroes, but there are two that have stuck with me that, and one is Luis in Island Affair and Diego in Their Perfect Melody. I would set any of my single friends up with Tomas or Jeremy or Ben or any of my other heroes, but I always feel like Diego and Luis are mine. I'm gonna date them. And so one of those two are my favorite characters that I've written. I've had a really hard time, and I'm thankful that the Navarro Familia they're all in each other's books, because I get to still play. Luis is in a couple scenes in book 2 that I'm revising now, and I wrote book 3 already. I mean, I'm working on book 3, and he'll be in that one as well. So I still get to spend a little time with Luis, because I've had a hard time letting him go. He's kind of special to me.
Oh, very good.
Yes, Melanie, Luis is mine. I will totally set someone else up with Jeremy. He's a really good guy. And so is Tomas. He's a great single dad, or he's not so single now, but he was at one point. Diego and Luis, I'm calling dibs.
Rhonda is asking, have you ever had a story that you were writing go in a different direction than you had planned after editing or as you were writing it?
I can go, so then you can slide me off. I haven't had a whole book. I have had scenes or like a chapter that I'm working on, and it's just not working for some reason. So I will go back to Their Perfect Melody with Diego, and there was a scene, and it was in his point of view, and I was just struggling with it. And so when that happens, typically I will just try to have a conversation with that character. So like Diego, I was driving to campus for class, and I had not gotten the word count that I wanted to get before I left. So I pretty much just, Diego was riding shotgun, and I point blank will just like, what is going on? How come you're not doing this? And usually when that happens, the character, and I know it's not a real person, so my imagination, but to me, the character tells me, right? So Diego's like, I don't really want to do that. I want to do this. And 9 out of 10 times when I listen to the character and get out of their way as the author and just make sure I'm firmly in their head and go with that, it's the right thing to do. And then the scene kind of flows.
Okay. All right. Let's go with Melanie.
I think like Priscilla was saying, and I talked a little bit about this. It's funny, it's come up a couple of times recently, but it's a great question. And and they talk about how authors will hear their characters in their head, and which I am one of those authors that they are talking in my head. And I think when you try to force a character to do something that doesn't fit their personality or fits their character, that's when you run into a wall. And I had a situation in one of my second book where I was trying to have a secondary character do something because I needed that to happen for plot purposes. And so as I was trying to write it, and like, this is how I had planned it to happen, but as I was writing it, like, it just wouldn't work. And I'm like, well, why isn't it working? And I realized it was because the character that I wanted to do this thing, she just would never do that. It's not in her personality. And so I had to step back and say, okay, like, how am I going to make this work in a way that actually is fitting to that character? And readers are smart. Readers, when they invest themselves in your characters, they pick up on this stuff, and they will know if something doesn't fit right, doesn't feel right to that character. They'll know when something is forced, and they'll call you out on it. So hopefully you can figure that out before it gets that far.
How about you, Maria?
I know that Priscilla and Melanie are both plotters. I've heard you talk about this. I'm a pantser, but I had a contract for 3 books, and then I got another contract for another 3 books. So I was starting essentially anew, and I had to get back into the world and back into everything else. And I was moving a little slowly, and I had talked to someone on Twitter, which is always a mistake, and told them that I was moving very slowly. And they said, well, of course, because you don't have an outline. And I thought, okay, maybe that's right. And I created this amazing outline. It had every scene plotted out, had every background, secondary character, snippets of dialogue, anything. And the book went slower and slower and slower. And the characters were like recalcitrant puppies. I kept pulling them to the outline and saying, this is what you are supposed to be doing. And they kept not doing it. So I finally threw it away and just went the direction that they wanted to go in. So I think I wrote 300,000 words for a book that ended up being 85,000.
Oh yeah. You have more deleted scenes in the whole book. Yes.
Can't get Susannah.
Susannah's having trouble connecting here.
Oh yeah, she said to another brownout.
No doubt.
Yeah.
She's sweating bullets upstairs.
Apparently, PG&E is doing just random blackouts now across the state.
In an attempt to keep energy levels?
With no warning. They're just like, we're cutting off power to 200,000 homes. And
wow.
Yeah.
Do we want to?
Yeah, so I think those were the only 2 questions. So I think we are done. So let Susannah get out of the heat upstairs and go cool down. But thank you all for joining us. And like I mentioned earlier, if there's anything that we can do to help you with your book sales, don't hesitate to contact us.
And then you guys have the buy one, get one free, right?
Yep.
That goes on until close of business tomorrow. So take advantage. We've got a few people buying the romance books for that.
The website website won't show the discount in the cart, but we're not going to charge until the stuff goes out the door. So if you buy something and the cart doesn't look like you're getting a discount, you are. We'll just do it.
Yeah.
So.
Susannah, did you want to answer that question?
Oh, about the characters.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
We just went through another brownout.
Yeah, we figured.
I see some people. I see some people in chat. We're talking about plotters versus pantser, and I am definitely a pantser. So I have definitely had my characters. I'll have one idea in my head, and because of the way Harlequin works, I have to turn in a proposal, which is a synopsis and like the first chapter before they approve the story. And then they say, go to work on that. And I'm like, great. And so I think I have a synopsis and I think I know where I'm going. And then I start writing the story and the characters are like, yeah, no. So my characters definitely talk to me. They definitely tell me what they want to do. The one I'm writing right now, she's definitely way more assertive than I thought that she would be. She's almost so yeah, they're telling me what they want to do and who they want to be with and and how fast they want to get there. So I'm just kind of along for the ride.
Very good. Well, it's been a real pleasure to talk with all of you from this session and the previous sessions we did today. It's been a fun way to spend a hot Sunday with you all. It kind of goes hand in hand with the genre, right? That was a good one, huh? All right. Well, take care, everyone, and we'll hopefully see you soon after COVID.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for having us. This is a pleasure.
Thank you.